Alright, listen close, because I'm only gonna tell this once. There's a place deep in Vermont's northern woods called Shadow Ridge. Most folks won't find it on a map, and trust me, you don't want to. The locals keep to themselves, and when the nights grow long and the leaves turn blood red, they start bolting doors and whispering prayers. They know what's coming. It all happens when the blood moon rises, that rare night every few decades when the full moon slips into Earth's shadow and turns a deep, burning crimson. That's when the forest wakes up. And let me tell you, if you're out there when it does, you don't come back the same. If you come back at all. I know this because of Lucy Campbell. She was a bright-eyed photographer from Boston, barely 23, eager to make her mark. She'd been hired by a travel magazine to capture the blood moon over the Appalachian woods. Yeah, the same woods that creep right into Shadow Ridge. She thought it would be the shoot of her life. And in a way, it was. She rolled into town a few days before the eclipse. I heard she drove a red Jeep, paint shining like fresh blood in the autumn sun. When she stopped at the general store, the locals turned quiet, eyes darting away. She thought it was small-town coldness, but it was fear, pure, old-fashioned fear. The clerk behind the counter, a bony man with cheeks like hollowed apples, asked her straight up, "You here for the blood moon?" She laughed, thinking it was a joke, said she was gonna get the best shots of her career. The clerk went white as a sheet. He told her, "You need to leave before nightfall. This ain't the place to be when the moon turns red." Lucy didn't listen. On the night of the eclipse, she packed up her gear and drove up an old logging road past the village. She hiked into the woods until she found the perfect ridge, camera tripod planted under towering oaks. The forest was dead quiet, so quiet she could hear her own breathing. As the moon started rising, pale at first, then deepening into a dark, bloody red, she lifted her lens and started shooting. Every frame was a masterpiece. The moon so big it looked like it would crash into the treetops. The forest bathed in a red glow that made every shadow stretch like grasping hands. But around her, the woods shifted. She didn't notice at first. A branch snapped softly behind her. The air got colder than the October night should have allowed. So cold she saw her breath swirling in front of her face. Then the wind died completely. Not a leaf moved. The silence wasn't natural. It was like the forest was holding its breath. She packed up fast, realizing the darkness felt wrong. But before she could shoulder her bag, she heard a voice. "Blood for blood." It was a whisper, so close she felt it in her ear. But when she spun around, there was no one there. Just the trees, silent and black. She took a step backward, and that's when she saw them. Figures emerging between the trunks. Pale shapes in tattered clothes, faces gray and hollow-eyed. One looked like a colonial woman in a shredded bonnet, her mouth open in a silent scream. Another was a child dragging something behind him, a broken doll or maybe a small, limp animal. They stood there, swaying gently, eyes fixed on Lucy. The moonlight caught their faces, and she realized they weren't just pale. They were dead. Lucy backed away, heart hammering so hard it drowned out everything else. The figures began to move, drifting toward her. With each step they took, their whispers grew louder, overlapping like a chorus of damned souls. "Blood for blood." She turned and ran. Branches clawed at her jacket. Roots seemed to reach for her ankles. No matter which way she turned, the forest twisted around her, leading her deeper. The moon overhead was so red it looked like it was bleeding across the sky. She burst into a clearing she'd never seen before. In the center stood a stone well, half collapsed, moss-covered. The ground around it was littered with old bones, small bones, child-sized. She felt something move behind her. Turning slowly, she saw a man step into the moonlight. His clothes were black with age. His face was so gaunt it looked like it was carved from stone. His eyes were pits of darkness. When he opened his mouth, the voice that came out sounded like dead leaves scraping together. "You come here on the blood night. You must pay the debt." Then the world tilted. Lucy staggered as visions flooded her mind. Settlers with torches chasing a small band of native people through the woods, musket shots echoing, screams tearing the night. She saw men throwing bodies into the well, women, children. She saw a shaman, bloodied but standing tall, speaking words of rage and power in the Abenaki tongue as he fell into the darkness. Then she understood. The settlers had murdered the innocent to steal the land. They thought burying the evidence in the well would erase their crime. But the shaman's last breath cursed the forest and all who came after. Every blood moon since, the dead rose searching for payment. When Lucy came to, the clearing was full. Dozens of spirits circled her. Colonial men and women, children, even settlers wearing buckskin. Their eyes glowed faintly red in the moonlight. The air felt like ice against her skin. A woman stepped forward, hair long and black, dressed in ceremonial hides. Her voice was thunder and rain. "You carry no guilt of theirs, but you trespassed on cursed ground." Lucy could barely whisper, What do you want?" The woman lifted a stone knife, ancient and chipped. "The forest demands blood." Lucy's hand shook as she took the blade. Tears froze on her cheeks. She pressed it to her palm, wincing as it bit deep. Blood dripped to the ground. Steam rose where it touched the leaves. The spirits inhaled in unison, as if drawing in her sacrifice. The woman nodded once. "You may leave, but remember, the debt is never paid." The spirits parted. A narrow path of moonlit forest opened behind them, straight and clear. Lucy stumbled through it, clutching her bleeding hand, heart still pounding like a war drum. The whispers faded behind her. The forest grew silent again, this time a normal silence. She emerged on the road near her jeep as dawn's first light pinked the horizon. She looked back only once. The forest stood quiet, cold, and dark, but she knew what slept beneath its roots. She wrapped her hand in a rag, climbed into her jeep, and drove away from Shadowridge as fast as she could. Lucy's photos made it to the magazine. They called them hauntingly beautiful. They went viral, praised for their ethereal, unsettling atmosphere. But Lucy never photographed a forest again. Every few decades, when the blood moon returns, she locks herself in her apartment, draws the curtains and lights candles. She dreams of the forest, of eyes watching her from the dark, of whispers calling her back. She knows that someday the forest will come for her, because the forest never forgets, and the debt never dies. So if you ever find yourself up north when the blood moon rises, stay away from Shadowridge. Don't let curiosity lead you into those woods, because if you do, they'll be waiting, and they'll whisper your name too.